Have you ever thought about the fact that there's a language that writes the story of every living thing? Yeah, a language that doesn't use words, but molecules. Well, today, we're going to decode that secret language, the language of proteins.
Okay, let's kick things off with a number that just kind of puts it all into perspective. 50%. Proteins make up half of the dry weight of most of our cells. They are the essential big molecules, the macromolecules, that do pretty much all the heavy lifting in our bodies. That's a staggering amount, and it tells you right away just how critical these things are.
So that leads us to the big question, right? How in the world does this even happen? How can a simple, one-dimensional string of molecules build itself into the incredibly complex, three-dimensional machinery of life? I mean, from our muscles to the enzymes that run our bodies, it all starts with what's basically just a line of biological code.
To crack this code, we have to start with the fundamentals. We have to start with the alphabet of life. You know, just like you need letters before you can write a sentence, you need building blocks before you can build a protein.
And those letters, they're called amino acids. Our bodies use 20 different kinds to build all our proteins. Each one is just a small molecule. And honestly, like individual letters, they don't have much power on their own. But, when you string them together in just the right order, that's when their true potential is unlocked.
Now, don't worry, you don't need to memorize all 20 of these. But what's absolutely crucial to understand is that each one has a different chemical personality. Some are hydrophobic, they hate water. Others are charged, so they act like tiny little magnets. And some are polar, meaning they love water. These unique properties, they're the secret sauce. They're what determines exactly how the protein sentence is going to fold itself into a working machine.
Okay, so we've got our 20 letters, each with its own unique personality. The next step is to arrange them into a meaningful sentence. In biology, we call this the primary sequence. The primary sequence is really just that, the unique linear order of these amino acids, one after the other. You got to think of it like a very, very specific set of instructions. The sequence MIT would create a totally different protein word than TIM. This exact order, it is everything. It's the master blueprint.
And this is the truly mind-blowing part. All of the information needed for that final, complex, folded structure is encoded right there, in that simple, one-dimensional line of letters. It's like a cryptic code that contains all the instructions for self-assembly. It's incredible.
And this brings us to the most magical part of the whole story. How does that one-dimensional blueprint spontaneously build itself into a functional, three-dimensional skyscraper? Well, this amazing process is called protein folding. Folding happens in a really clear, step-by-step way. It all starts with the primary sequence, our string of letters. Then, little sections of that string start to form simple, local shapes, like coils and sheets. We call that the secondary structure. And finally, the entire chain just collapses in on itself, guided by all those amino acid properties we talked about, into its final, complex and functional 3D shape, the tertiary structure.
So what's actually driving all this twisting and turning? It's basically a three-dimensional puzzle. The protein chain is just trying to find its most stable, lowest energy state, and that usually means burying all the water-hating parts on the inside, hiding them away from the watery environment of the cell. It's this beautiful, elegant dance, all choreographed by the laws of physics, and it's so complicated that sometimes a protein even needs a little help from other molecules we call chaperones just to make sure it folds correctly. So we've seen how elegant this folding process is. But to really, truly understand how critical it is to get it perfect, let's look at what happens when just one letter in that sentence is wrong. Let's talk about collagen.
Collagen is the most abundant protein in our bodies. It's a structural protein, which means its job is to provide mechanical strength. Think of it like the steel rebar in concrete. It's what holds our tissues together. You find it everywhere, from your bones to your skin.
So, the key to collagen's amazing strength comes down to a tiny, tiny detail. You see, healthy collagen forms this tight, strong triple helix, and that's only possible because it uses the smallest amino acid there is, glycine, at key points, which allows the strands to pack super close together. But in a genetic disorder known as brittle bone syndrome, a single glycine gets swapped for the slightly larger alanine. This one tiny change creates a bulge in the structure. This bulge prevents the helix from packing tightly, and it catastrophically weakens the entire protein. It's just a stark reminder that misfolding is at the very heart of so many devastating diseases.
The takeaway here is just staggering. One single typo in a protein's primary sequence can completely destroy it, can render it useless.
A baby's bones can become so brittle they break even before birth, all because of one incorrect molecular letter out of thousands.
And that just leaves us with a final question to chew on. We've just seen how a protein's entire story, its entire function, is written in a simple sequence of 20 letters. So if changing just a single one of those letters can have such profound, life-altering consequences, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other secrets about health, about disease, and about the very nature of life itself are still waiting for us to read in the secret language of proteins?